The first shot cracked through the glass doors of St. Aurelia Hospital at 2:13 inches the morning. Ava Monroe didn't scream. She had spent 7 years on night shift in Boston's most expensive private hospital, where senators overdosed quietly, billionaires hid gunshot wounds behind fake ski accidents, and wives arrived with bruises they called stair falls. She knew panic killed faster than blood loss. So, when the emergency entrance exploded inward and 12 men in black coats dragged a dying man through the snow, Ava moved before fear could reach her. "Trauma room 3, she ordered. Now, the man on the stretcher was soaked in blood and melting snow. His black shirt had been torn open, revealing a bullet wound low in his abdomen and another across his ribs. His face was pale, brutally beautiful, and terrifyingly calm. Too calm. Most men begged when they bled like that. This man watched the nurses, watched the exits, watched Ava. His eyes were dark, almost black. And when they locked onto hers, the room seemed to lose sound. One of the armed men grabbed Ava's arm. "Save him." Ava looked down at his hand, then back at him. "Touch me again," she said, "and I'll let your boss bleed on my floor." The room went still. Every man turned to the patient. The wounded man's mouth curved faintly. "Let her work," he said. His voice was low, controlled, almost bored. That was the moment Ava understood. He was not just a patient. He was power, and everyone in that room feared him. She cut away the rest of his shirt. "Name?" No answer. "Medical history?" Silence. "Allergies?" The man looked at her like she had asked something amusing. Ava leaned closer, pressing gauze hard against the wound. "I don't care who you are. In this room, I need answers." His gaze dropped to her hands, then back to her face. "Don't." One of his men stiffened, as if even that single name was dangerous. Ava's pulse shifted. Dante Moretti. Even people outside crime knew that name. The Moretti family owned half of Boston's docks, 3 luxury hotels, 2 private security firms. And, if rumors meant anything, the fear of every man who ever crossed them. Ava had heard stories whispered by patients who thought nurses were invisible. Dante Moretti never raised his voice. Dante Moretti never forgave betrayal. Dante Moretti could make a man disappear between dinner and dessert. And now, he was bleeding beneath her hands. "Congratulations," Ava said, forcing herself not to react. "You're still human." His eyes narrowed slightly. Not anger, interest. Outside the trauma room, his men sealed the hallway. Ava heard locks click. Then the hospital intercom died. One by one, every screen in the trauma bay went black. Her stomach tightened. "What did you do?" Dante's gaze moved toward the ceiling camera. "I didn't do that." A second later, gunfire erupted from the west wing. The hospital screamed. Ava froze for half a heartbeat. Then Dante grabbed her wrist. His hand was cold, bloody, and impossibly strong for a man losing consciousness. "They're not here for me," he said. Ava stared at him. "What?" His voice dropped lower. "They're here for you." The lights went out. Emergency red flooded the room, and somewhere beyond the doors, men began dying. Ava didn't remember deciding to run. She remembered Dante ripping the IV from his arm with a curse, swinging his legs off the bed, and nearly collapsing. She remembered catching him on instinct, his blood soaking through her blue scrubs. She remembered the smell of antiseptic, smoke, and winter air. "You can't move," she snapped. "You'll tear the wound open." Then, "Stitch faster. You are unbelievable. You're alive. Be angry later." Before she could answer, bullets tore through the trauma room window. Dante shoved her down. Glass burst over them like ice. His body covered hers. Heavy, warm, bleeding. Ava felt his breath against her ear. For one impossible second, All she could hear was his heartbeat. Slow, steady, like the gunfire was nothing, like death was an inconvenience. Then his men returned fire. Dante pulled Ava up and dragged her toward the back corridor. She tried to support his weight, but he moved with violent determination. One hand pressed to his abdomen, the other wrapped around her wrist like he would break the world before letting go. "Where are we going?" she demanded. "Vipwood. That's 6 floors up. Private elevator. The elevators are locked during a security breach." He looked at her. Ava exhaled sharply. "Of course, you own the elevators. I own the company that installed them." Comforting. They reached a service corridor lit by flickering red emergency strips. Snow blew in from the shattered ambulance entrance behind them. Nurses huddled in supply rooms. A security guard lay unconscious near the wall. Ava tried to stop. Dante tightened his grip. "No, he's hurt. So are you, if you stop. I'm a nurse. You're a target. I don't even know why." His jaw flexed. That silence told her he did. They reached a private elevator hidden behind a restricted access door. One of Dante's men, a broad-shouldered man with a scar across his cheek, punched in a code. "Boss." Sokolov's men breached the surgical floor. Dante's face changed. Not fear, recognition. Ava caught it. "Sokolov?" Dante ignored her. The elevator opened. He pushed Ava inside first. 2 guards followed. Then the scarred man. The doors slid closed as bullets struck the metal. Ava pressed her hand against Dante's wound. Blood seeped between her fingers. "You need surgery. I need you alive. That is not a medical plan." His eyes lowered to her face. "No, it's a promise." The elevator climbed. Ava hated the way those words landed in her chest. Not romantic. Not yet. Too dark for that. They sounded like ownership. Like threat. Like a vow made by a man who didn't know how to want. Gently. The VIP ward of St. Aurelia occupied the top 2 floors of the hospital. Private suites. Bulletproof glass. Separate oxygen lines. Luxury bathrooms with heated marble floors. A rooftop helipad used by people rich enough to make emergencies feel elegant. Tonight, it became a fortress. Dante's men swept the hallways, shut down the stairwells, disabled keycard access, and stationed armed guards outside every door. Somewhere below, police sirens wailed, but no one came up. Ava noticed that. No police. No hospital administrators. No one with authority. Only Dante, bleeding, pale, and still somehow the most dangerous thing in the building. She forced him into Suite 701, the largest private room overlooking Boston under a storm. Snow battered the windows. The city looked distant and cold. "Lie down," she ordered. Dante stayed standing. Ava stepped closer. "Do you always have a death wish, or is tonight special?" One of his men coughed, hiding a laugh. Dante looked at him. The man stopped breathing. Ava pointed at the bed. "Now." For a moment, Dante didn't move. Then, slowly, he obeyed. The room seemed stunned by it. Ava washed her hands, snapped on gloves, and inspected the wound under portable light. The bullet had gone through, but the bleeding was bad. "You need an operating room." "No, you don't get to say no. The operating rooms are exposed. Then I need instruments, blood, imaging, and someone who can assist me." Dante looked at the scarred man. "Marco." The man nodded and left. "Ava froze." "Wait, you have blood here?" Dante didn't answer. She stared. "You planned this?" His silence became confession. Ava stepped back from the bed. "You didn't come here because you were shot." Dante's expression remained unreadable. "You came here because of me." The storm hit the windows like thrown gravel. Dante's eyes stayed on hers. "Yes." The word entered the room quietly, but it changed everything. Ava felt cold spread through her stomach. "Who are you to me?" His gaze flickered. Something almost human moved behind his eyes, then disappeared. "Someone trying to keep you alive. That's not an answer. It's the only one you get for now." Ava laughed once, breathless and sharp. "You broke into my hospital, locked down 2 floors, brought guns into a trauma wing, and now you're telling me I don't get answers?" Dante's voice lowered. "You're standing because I got here first." Ava leaned over him, anger burning through fear. "And you're breathing because I didn't let you die. So, don't mistake me for one of your men." For the first time, Dante looked truly fascinated. Not amused, not annoyed. Fascinated. As if no one had spoken to him like that in years. "You should be afraid of me," he said. Ava held his stare. "I am." His expression shifted. "Then, why are you still arguing?" "Because fear doesn't make you right." For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Marco returned with medical trays, blood bags, and a portable ultrasound machine. Ava turned away first, but she felt Dante watching her like something inside him had quietly changed. The next hour passed in blood, steel, and silence. Ava worked with brutal focus. She cleaned the wounds, controlled the bleeding, inserted a new IV, transfused blood, and stitched what she could without a full surgical team. Dante refused sedation at first. She gave it anyway. "You drugged me," he murmured. "I treated you." His eyelids lowered. "I don't like losing control. I noticed, especially around you." Ava's hands stilled for half a second. Dante's voice had changed. Softer, not gentle, never gentle, but edged with something dangerous. She ignored it. "You're concussed, bleeding, and drugged. Don't flirt with your nurse." "I wasn't flirting." "No?" His eyes opened. "I was warning you." The power went out again. This time, the backup lights failed too. The suite sank into darkness. Ava heard guns being raised outside the door. Marco's voice came from the hallway. "Boss." Dante sat up too fast. Ava pushed him down. "No." They cut the backup generator. "You tear those stitches, I swear." A scream echoed from somewhere below. Not distant enough. Ava's blood chilled. Dante reached under the pillow and pulled out a gun. Why is there a gun in a hospital bed? Because hospitals are where powerful men pretend they can't die. Before Ava could reply, something slid under the door. A phone. Its screen lit up. A video began playing. Ava saw herself. Her apartment. Her kitchen. Her small round table with the chipped white mug. Her bedroom window. Her hand shook. The video changed. Her father. A photograph of him from 15 years ago, standing outside a courthouse in the rain. Ava's breath caught. Her father had died when she was 17. The official report said car accident. Brake failure. Rain-slicked road. The video ended on a message. Like father. Like daughter. Ava couldn't speak. Dante's face went still in a way that frightened her more than rage. He looked at Marco. "Find the signal." Marco vanished. Ava stared at the phone. "You know what this means." Dante didn't answer. She turned on him. "You know my father." His silence was worse than any lie. Ava backed away. "No." Dante stood despite her protests, one hand pressed to his stitches. "Ava, don't say my name like that. You need to listen. I needed answers an hour ago." He moved toward her. Slowly, carefully, like approaching a wounded animal. "Your father was not killed in an accident." The room tilted. Ava reached for the counter. Dante stopped, as if every instinct told him to touch her, but something stronger held him back. "Who killed him?" she whispered. Dante's jaw tightened. "Viktor Sokolov." The name returned like smoke. "And you knew?" "Yes." "For how long?" His eyes did not leave hers. "Since before tonight." Ava felt something inside her crack open. My father died 15 years ago. Dante said nothing. You knew for 15 years. I was 21. I had no power then. But you have power now. Yes. And you never told me. His face hardened, but his voice stayed controlled. I didn't know where you were until 3 months ago. Ava stared at him. 3 months? The silence answered before he did. She looked toward the black hospital window, toward the storm, toward the city she thought she understood. You've been watching me. Dante didn't deny it. Ava laughed softly, horrified. The coffee shop, the black car across from my apartment, the man in the lobby last week, protection, surveillance, both. She slapped him. The sound cracked through the dark suite. Every guard outside went silent. Dante's face turned slightly with the impact. He did not touch his cheek. He did not move. Ava's hand trembled. I am not yours to monitor. His eyes returned to hers. No, he said quietly. But you are alive because I did. Ava hated him then, hated his calm, hated his certainty, hated that part of her believed him. Below them, the hospital intercom crackled back to life. A man's voice filled the building. Smooth, Russian accented, almost cheerful. Dante Moretti, you have something that belongs to me. Dante's eyes darkened. The voice continued. Send me the nurse, and I will let the children's wing live. Ava stopped breathing. Dante turned toward the door. Marco reappeared, face grim. Boss, they're on Pediatric 5. Ava moved first. Dante caught her before she reached the door. No, there are children down there. It's a trap. I don't care. I do. His grip tightened. Ava looked down at his hand on her arm. Let go. No? You do not get to decide who I save. Dante leaned closer, his voice low and lethal. If you walk into that hallway, he wins. If I stay here, children die. Something brutal moved across Dante's face. Not anger at her. Anger at the choice. At the fact that she had found the one place where he could not command her. Her compassion, her weakness, her strength. He looked at Marco. Take 6 men. Clear Pediatric. No survivors among Sokolov's people. Marco nodded. Ava shook her head. I'm going. Dante's gaze snapped back to her. You're not. I know that floor. I know the evacuation routes. Your men don't. His silence sharpened. Ava stepped closer. You said I'm alive because of you. Fine. Then those children stay alive because of me. For several seconds, Dante looked like he might lock her in the room. Then he reached for a black Kevlar vest. He put it on her himself. His hands moved with careful precision, fastening the straps over her scrubs. His fingers brushed her ribs once, and both of them went still. Ava looked up. He was too close, close enough, that she saw the exhaustion beneath his eyes, the pain he refused to show, and the fear he buried so deep. It looked like control. You stay behind me, he said. You can barely stand. Then don't make me run. They descended through a private service stairwell. Dante moved, like pain was beneath him. Ava could see the blood darkening his bandages, but he never slowed. His men flowed around them in silence, weapons raised. The hospital felt unreal. Luxury corridors became war zones. Floral arrangements lay shattered on marble floors. A wheelchair rolled slowly in an empty hallway. Somewhere, a monitor beeped over and over for a patient no one could reach. At Pediatric 5, the lights flickered blue-white. Ava heard crying. Her entire body moved toward it. Dante caught her by the waist and pulled her back as bullets tore through the wall where she had been standing. For 1 second, her back pressed against his chest. His mouth was near her ear. Behind me, he said. This time. She listened. The gunfight lasted less than a minute. Dante did not shout, did not panic, did not waste movement. He fired with terrifying calm, each shot exact, each command quiet. Ava watched men twice her size obey him without hesitation, watched fear bend around him. When the hallway fell silent, Ava ran. Inside the pediatric playroom, 6 children and 2 nurses were huddled under tables. One little girl had blood on her sleeve. Ava dropped to her knees beside her. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm Ava. I've got you." The girl clung to her. Behind Ava, Dante stood in the doorway, gun lowered. A small boy looked up at him. "Are you a bad guy?" Every adult froze. Dante looked at the child. Ava expected something cold. Instead, he said, "Tonight." "No." The boy nodded like that made sense. Ava looked away before Dante could see what that did to her. They evacuated the children through a staff-only corridor that led to a secured stairwell. Dante stayed at the rear, bleeding through his shirt, eyes on Ava. Always Ava. When the last child was safe behind locked doors, Ava turned on him. "You're bleeding again. I know. You're impossible. You keep saying that. Because you keep proving it." His mouth almost curved. Then the intercom crackled again. Viktor Sokolov laughed softly. "You save children now, Dante. How touching. Your father would be ashamed." Dante went still. Ava saw it. The wound beneath the wound. Sokolov continued. "The nurse looks like him, you know. Same eyes as her father. He begged too." Ava's breath caught. Dante's hand closed around the gun until his knuckles whitened. The voice lowered. "Tell her, Dante. Tell her what her father died protecting." Ava turned slowly. Dante did not look at her. "What is he talking about?" Dante's expression hardened into stone. "Ava, what did my father protect?" The intercom hissed. Then Sokolov said the words that changed everything. "You, little nurse?" The hallway seemed to vanish. Ava heard her own heartbeat. Dante turned toward the ceiling speaker, rage finally breaking through his calm. "Enough." But Sokolov only laughed. "Did he not tell you? Your father stole evidence from me, yes, but not for the police, for Dante's family. He died because he saved the Moretti heir, and Dante repaid him by watching his daughter from the shadows." Ava stepped back. Dante reached for her. She flinched. His hand stopped midair. That hurt flashed across his face so quickly she almost missed it. "Almost. You were connected to my father's death," she whispered. "No, but your family was." Dante's silence condemned him. Ava felt grief rise so suddenly it stole her breath. Her father had been a gentleman, a courthouse interpreter with tired eyes and warm hands. He packed her lunch every morning, left notes in her textbooks, told her the world was cruel, but she didn't have to become cruel to survive it. And now, she was standing beside a man whose world had swallowed him. "Tell me the truth," she said. Dante's voice was quiet. "Your father was helping my father testify against Sokolov. He found records, roots, accounts, names. Sokolov discovered it. My father was killed first. Yours hid the evidence before Sokolov reached him. And me?" Dante looked at her then. "You were the leverage." Ava closed her eyes. "My father died because men like you exist." Yes, the honesty hit harder than denial. Dante did not defend himself, did not soften it, did not ask forgiveness. He just stood there, bleeding in the flickering hospital light, accepting the shape of her hatred. Ava should have walked away, but the stairwell door burst open behind them. A man grabbed her from the side. Cold metal pressed to her throat. Dante's gun rose instantly. The attacker smiled. "Drop it." Dante did. No hesitation. The gun hit the floor. Ava's eyes widened. The man laughed. "The rumors are true. The great Dante Moretti has a weakness." Dante's gaze stayed on Ava. Not the blade, not the man. "Here, look at me," he said. Ava was shaking. I said, "Look at me." She did. His voice softened into something dangerous and intimate. "You're going to duck." The man's grip tightened. "What?" Dante moved. Ava dropped. The gunshot was deafening. The man behind her collapsed before she hit the floor. Dante caught her, pulling her against him so hard the breath left her lungs. His hand went to the back of her head. For one broken second, he held her like the world had almost ended. Then he released her. Too fast. Like he remembered he had no right. Ava stared at the dead man, then at Dante. "You dropped your gun." "Yes." "He could have killed you." "Yes." "Why?" His eyes burned into hers. "You know why. That was the problem." She did. By 4 a.m., St. Aurelia Hospital had become the center of a war Boston would never see on the news. The police perimeter outside was strangely distant. News helicopters circled, but someone had killed the hospital feeds. Officially, it would be called a targeted attack by unknown criminals. Unofficially, every family in the city would know Dante Moretti had locked down an entire hospital for one nurse. Ava sat in suite 701, while Dante's private doctor restitched him. She should have been relieved. Instead, she felt watched by every secret in the room. Dante sat shirtless on the edge of the bed, blood cleaned from his skin, fresh bandages wrapped around his torso. The doctor worked quickly, hands trembling. Dante didn't flinch. Ava stood near the window, arms crossed, still wearing the Kevlar vest. "You should sleep," Dante said. She laughed softly. "That's your advice? You're exhausted. You're bleeding because you chased gunmen through a hospital. I've had worse nights. I believe that." His eyes stayed on her reflection in the glass. Ava hated the silence that followed. Not empty silence. Loaded silence. The kind that touched every place words couldn't reach. Finally, she turned. "Why didn't you tell me when you found me 3 months ago?" Dante dismissed the doctor with a glance. When they were alone, he spoke. "Because I didn't know who inside my organization was leaking to Sokolov. So you watched me. I protected you. You keep using that word like it makes everything less invasive. It doesn't." The admission disarmed her. Dante stood slowly, reaching for his black shirt. The movement pulled at his wound, but his expression stayed controlled. "I had men outside your apartment because Sokolov's people were seen in your neighborhood. I bought the cafe across from your building because it had the best sightline to your entrance. I had hospital security rerouted because your shifts were predictable." Ava started. Every ordinary part of her life had been touched by him. Her coffee, her walk home, her hospital, her illusion of safety. "You had no right." "No." "Then why do it?" He looked at her. "Because the first night I saw you, you walked out of this hospital at dawn, after a 16-hour shift. It was snowing. You gave your gloves to a homeless woman outside the ER, then hid your hands in your sleeves so no one would notice you were freezing." Ava's throat tightened. Dante's voice stayed low. "I've known powerful men my entire life. None of them would give away warmth unless someone was watching." She looked away. He continued, "I told myself you were an obligation, a debt. Your father saved my family. I owed you protection. And now?" The question came out too quiet. Dante did not answer immediately. When he did, his voice was almost rough. "Now I don't know how to leave." Ava's heart betrayed her. With one hard beat, Dante stepped closer, but stopped before touching her. That restraint was worse than contact. "I am not a good man, Ava. I know. I have done things you would hate. I know. I will do worse. Before this night ends." She swallowed. "Then why are you telling me?" His eyes dropped to her mouth, then back to her eyes. "Because, when this is over, you should run from me with all the truth. And if I don't," something dangerous passed through his face, "then I will have to become better than I am. Ava wanted to hate him cleanly, but he made hate complicated. He made fear feel like heat. He made protection feel like a prison with a heartbeat. Before she could answer, Marco entered. "We found the leak." Dante turned. "Who?" Marco hesitated. That was enough. Dante's expression went cold. "No." Marco's jaw tightened. "Luca." The name meant nothing to Ava, but it broke something in Dante's face. Only for a second. Then the Mafia boss returned. "Bring him." Luca Moretti arrived in handcuffs 10 minutes later. He was younger than Dante, elegant and pale, with the same dark eyes but none of the control. His gaze flicked to Ava, then to Dante's bandages. "You always did bleed dramatically." Dante didn't respond. Luca smiled. "Is she worth it?" Ava stood near the window, suddenly aware this was no longer just a war. It was family. Dante's voice was calm. "You gave Sokolov access to the hospital. I gave him access to the girl." Ava stiffened. Dante moved so fast she barely saw it. He slammed Luca against the wall, forearm across his throat. Every guard raised a weapon. Luca laughed, choking. "There he is." Dante's voice was deathly quiet. "Why?" Luca's smile twisted. "Because father chose you. Even dead, he chose you. The family, the name, the empire, and now you choose her." Dante pressed harder. "She has nothing to do with this. She has everything to do with this." Luca's eyes found Ava. Her father didn't just hide evidence. He hid the key to father's offshore inheritance. Billions. Documents that transfer everything to the legitimate heir. Aves pulse thunnel. Dante looked briefly confused. Luca laughed again. "You don't know, do you?" "Her father left her the key." Ava shook her head. "No, I don't have anything." Luca's gaze dropped to her necklace. Ava's hand went instinctively to the small silver locket she had worn since her father died. Dante saw it. So did Luca. The room changed. Luca lunged. Dante struck him across the face and threw him to the floor. Marco restrained him, but Luca kept laughing. "Sokolov knows. That's why he wants her alive first. Dead after." Ava backed away. Her father's locket suddenly felt like fire against her skin. Dante turned to her. "Ava." She unclasped the necklace with shaking fingers. "I've worn this for 15 years. Dante approached slowly. "May I?" She hesitated, then placed it in his palm. His fingers closed around it like it was sacred. Using a small blade, Marco opened a seam no one would have noticed. Inside was a thin black chip, no bigger than a fingernail. Ava's world narrowed. Her father had left her more than grief. He had left her a war. Dante stared at the chip, then at Ava. For once, he looked shaken. "My father died for this," she whispered. Dante's voice was low. "Yes. And yours?" "Yes." Luca laughed from the floor. "And now she'll die for it too." Dante turned. The room went colder. Ava had seen angry men before. She had seen drunk husbands, desperate criminals, terrified fathers. But Dante's rage was silent, controlled, absolute. He crouched in front of Luca. "You gave her to Sokolov." Luca swallowed. For the first time, fear entered his eyes. Dante said, "You should have killed me instead." Ava stepped forward. "Don't." His head turned slightly. She didn't know what she was asking. Mercy? Control. For him not to become the monster she feared. For him not to prove every warning true. Dante looked at her for a long moment. Then he stood. "Lock him in the East Suite." Luca's face flashed with relief. Dante added, "Let him hear everything that happens when Sokolov arrives." Relief vanished. Marco dragged Luca away. Ava exhaled. Dante faced her. "You stopped me. I said your name. It was enough." That confession stayed between them. More intimate than touch. At Petsedim. A. M. Sokolov. made his move. Not through the front. Not through the roof. Through the morgue tunnels beneath the hospital. Ava knew the tunnels existed. Old Boston buildings always had hidden arteries, service passages, forgotten storage rooms, basement corridors built before modern blueprints. St. Aurelia had used them decades ago to move bodies discreetly when wealthy families didn't want cameras. Now killers moved through them. Dante gathered his men in the VIP lounge. Outside the windows, snow turned silver with approaching dawn. "We ended below," he said. Ava stepped forward. "I'm coming." "No. You need the tunnel layout." "I have it." "You need someone who knows the old access doors." "I have maps." "Maps don't show which doors jam after flooding." Dante's eyes narrowed. Ava lifted her chin. "You can lock down the hospital. You can buy the elevators. You can scare every man in this city. But you cannot keep me safe by making me useless." A muscle moved in his jaw. "You are not useless. Then stop treating me like something breakable." His gaze moved over her face. The anger, the fear, the grief, the stubbornness that had kept her alive long before he arrived. Finally, he reached for a smaller vest. "No heroics. No martyrdom. That's my line." "Then follow it too." For one flickering second, something like a smile touched his mouth. Then, it was gone. They entered the hospital's lower levels, through a locked staff stairwell. The air changed immediately. Warmer, damp, metallic. The luxury above disappeared, replaced by concrete walls, exposed pipes, and dim yellow emergency bulbs. Ava walked beside Dante, close enough to feel the heat of him. Too close. Not close enough. Every few steps, his shoulder brushed hers. Neither mentioned it. From somewhere ahead came the echo of footsteps. Then, a voice. "Sokolov, Dante. Bring me the nurse, and I will let you keep your brother." Ava looked at him. Dante's expression did not change, but she saw the flicker. Brother, betrayer, blood, was never simple. "You don't have to save him," Ava whispered. Dante looked ahead. "Yes," he said. "I do." That answer reached into her chest. Not because it was noble, because it was painful. Because it told her Dante Moretti was not soft, not innocent, not good. But he was not empty. They moved deeper into the tunnels. The attack came at the old laundry junction. Gunfire exploded from both sides. Dante shoved Ava behind a concrete pillar and stepped in front of her. Bullets sparked off the wall. His men returned fire. Smoke filled the tunnel. Ava saw Marco go down. She ran to him. Dante shouted her name. Marco had been hit in the shoulder. Ava pressed both hands to the wound. "You'll live," she told him. Marco grimaced. "Boss will kill me if I don't." A bullet struck the pipe above Ava's head. Steam burst into the corridor. Dante reached her, grabbed her vest, and pulled her backward just as another shooter emerged through the steam. Dante fired once. The man fell. Ava's ears rang. Dante's face was inches from hers. "What did I say? No heroics." "And what was that?" "Medicine." His eyes flashed. Even in the tunnel, even surrounded by smoke and blood, Ava felt the pull between them. Insane. Impossible. Real. Then Dante's hand rose toward her face. He stopped before touching her cheek. His fingers hovered there for half a breath. Then lowered. "Stay alive," he said. Ava's voice softened, despite herself. "You too." The next corridor opened into the old morgue intake room. Sokolov waited there beneath flickering lights, surrounded by armed men. Luka knelt beside him, bloodied but alive. Sokolov was older than Ava expected. Silver hair, expensive coat, calm smile. He looked like a man who collected suffering and called it taste. His gaze found Ava. Your father was braver. Dante stepped slightly in front of her. Sokolov smiled wieder. There it is. The weakness. Dante's voice was flat. You wanted the key. Here I am. No. Sokolov looked at Ava. There she is. Ava's hand closed around the locket. Sokolov tilted his head. Do you know what is on that chip, little nurse? Ava said nothing. Not just money. Names. Judges. Senators. Police. Men who helped Dante's father build an empire and helped me bury it. That chip can destroy half the East Coast, Dante said. It destroys you too. Sokolov's eyes gleamed. Only if she survives to use it. Everything happened at once. Lucas slammed his head backward into the guard behind him. Marco fired from the corridor despite his wound. Lights shattered. Ava was dragged sideways by a man she hadn't seen. A hand clamped over her mouth. She bit down hard. He cursed. Dante turned. Sokolov shot him. Ava screamed against the hand. Dante staggered, but did not fall. Sokolov aimed again. Ava drove her elbow backward, broke free, and threw herself into Dante's side. The second bullet, meant for his heart, tore across her upper arm instead. Pain flashed white. Dante caught her before she hit the floor. For the first time, she saw him lose control. Not rage. Terror. Pure, naked terror. His hand pressed to her bleeding arm. Ava. She had heard him say her name many ways tonight. Comment. Warning. Possession. This was different. This was a man watching the one thing he could not afford to lose bleed in his arms. I'm okay, she gasped. His eyes lifted to Sokolov. The terror vanished. What replaced it was ancient and cold. Marco. Dante said. Marco tossed him a gun. Dante Rose. Sokolov stepped back. Dante. No. The word was quiet. Final. The gunfight that followed was brutal and short. Ava saw pieces of it through pain and smoke. Dante moving through the room like vengeance given a body. Marco pulling Luca behind cover. Sokolov's men falling. The old morgue lights swinging overhead. Then silence. Sokolov was on his knees. Dante stood before him, blood on his shirt, gun in hand. Sokolov laughed weakly. You'll kill me in front of her? Dante's eyes flicked to Ava. She was sitting against the wall, clutching her arm, watching him. This was the edge, the place where fear and trust met. Dante looked back at Sokolov. No, he said. She saves lives. I won't make her carry this death. He lowered the gun. Sokolov smiled. Then, Luca stepped forward. His face was bruised. His hands shook. You killed my father, Luca said. Sokolov's smile faded. And you made me hate my brother for it. Dante turned. Luca. But Luca fired. Once. Sokolov fell. The sound disappeared into the tunnels. Luca lowered the gun, shaking violently. Dante walked to him. For a moment, Ava thought he would strike him. Instead, Dante took the gun from his brother's hand. Luca broke. He collapsed against Dante, sobbing once before choking it down. Dante held him stiffly at first. Then his hand came up to the back of Luca's head. Ava looked away. Some wounds needed privacy. By sunrise, the hospital was quiet. Too quiet. Federal agents arrived after the violence was over, which told Ava everything she needed to know about power. Dante's lawyers appeared before the police breached the VIP floor. Security footage vanished. Witnesses were protected or paid. The official story became a terrorist extortion attempt, stopped by private security. Ava became a headline for 12 hours. Brave nurse saves children during hospital attack. No one mentioned Dante. No one mentioned the locket. No one mentioned the way he had carried her through the basement tunnels after she passed out from blood loss, refusing to let anyone else touch her. When Ava woke, She was in a private hospital room, not Suite 701, a smaller room, quieter, filled with pale morning light. Her arm was bandaged. Her body hurt. Her throat was dry. Dante sat beside her bed, not sleeping, still in black, still bruised and bandaged. Still impossible. But there was something different in him now. Naught. Softness. Not exactly. A kind of ruin. "You look terrible," Ava whispered. His eyes opened. Relief moved through him before he could hide it. "You were shot. So were you. You stepped in front of a bullet. You do it all the time." His mouth tightened. "Don't make a habit of becoming like me." Ava looked at the ceiling. "Is Sokolov dead?" "Yes." "Luca?" "Alive. Will you forgive him?" Dante was silent for a long time. "I don't know." Ava turned her head. "Honest answer. You seem to prefer them." "I do." His gaze moved over her face, like he was memorizing proof she had survived. Ava swallowed. "What happens now?" Dante leaned back slightly. "The chip goes to people your father trusted. Not the FBI. Not my family. People outside, both. And me?" His face closed. "You leave Boston." Pain moved through her, unexpected. "What?" "I have a safe house arranged in Maine. New identity if you want it. Money. Protection from a distance." Ava stared at him. From a distance. His jaw tightened. "You were almost killed because of me. I was almost killed because of Sokolov. Because of my world. Because of my father's choice, too." Dante stood abruptly and walked to the window. Snow had stopped. Boston glittered cold and bright. "I can protect you from enemies," he said. "I don't know how to protect you from myself." Ava sat up slowly. Pain pulled through her arm. "Don't she?" He did not turn. She got out of bed. Her knees almost gave out, but she crossed the room anyway. When she reached him, he looked furious. "At least pretend to follow medical advice. I'm a nurse." "I don't have to." His mouth pressed into a line. Ava stood before him. "You don't get to decide my life because you're afraid." His eyes darkened. "I am not afraid." Ava touched his bandaged chest with her good hand. He went, completely still. "Yes, you are." The room held its breath. Dante looked down at her hand. Then, at her face. "I have buried everyone I loved." The words were quiet, stripped bare. Ava's throat tightened. "I'm not asking you to love me safely." His voice roughened. "You should. I'm asking you to tell me the truth." His control fractured. "Just a little. Enough." Dante lifted his hand and touched her cheek with the back of his fingers, so lightly it almost hurt. "I watched you for 3 months, and told myself it was duty. Then you stood over me with blood on your hands and called me human. No one has looked at me like that in years." Ava's eyes burned. He continued, voice low. "When that man held a knife to your throat, I would have given him Boston to get you back. When you were shot, there was nothing left in me but your name." His thumb brushed her cheek. "I don't know how to want you." Gently, Ava whispered. "Then learn." For a moment, Dante did not breathe. Then, he leaned down, slowly, giving her time, giving her choice. Ava rose onto her toes and kissed him first. It was not soft, not sweet. It was the release of every withheld touch, every interrupted breath, every moment fear had disguised itself as anger. Dante's hand slid carefully to her waist, avoiding her wound, holding her like she was both fragile and powerful. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "I'll ruin your life," he whispered. Ava closed her eyes. "You already saved it." 3 months later, Centaurelia reopened its west wing. New glass. New security. New rumors. Ava returned to work on a rainy night in April. She refused Dante's money, refused his private doctors, refused the penthouse he tried to give her. She accepted one thing: a black car across the street. Not hidden now. Not pretending. Dante sat inside it most nights when she worked late, reading documents, taking calls, ruling his empire from the back seat, like a king outside a cathedral he was not allowed to enter. Ava told him it was ridiculous. He told her he was practicing distance. She told him distance did not mean parking 20 feet away. He told her he was a slow learner. The hospital staff pretended not to stare. They failed. One night, after a brutal shift, Ava stepped outside into soft rain. Her hair was pinned messily. Her feet ached. Her scrubs were wrinkled. She looked nothing like the kind of woman who belonged in Dante Moretti's world. And yet, the moment he saw her, his entire face changed. Not much, never much, but enough for her. The back door opened before she reached the curb. Dante stepped out holding a black umbrella. "You're late," he said. "A patient coded." "Did they live?" "Yes." "Then I'll forgive it." Ava smiled despite herself. "You'll forgive my job?" "I'm trying." She stepped under the umbrella. For a moment, neither moved. Rain tapped softly above them. Boston glowed around them, silver and gold, dangerous and alive. Dante reached into his coat and removed her father's locket. Repaired, polished, empty now, except for a tiny photograph inside. Ava opened it. Her father smiled back at her. Beside it was a newer photo. Ava, asleep in a hospital chair, Dante's coat over her shoulders. She looked up. "Did you take this?" "Marco did." "Why?" Dante's Hase held hers. "Because that was the first night I believed I could survive loving someone." Ava's chest tightened. Around them, his men stood at a distance. The city moved. Rain fell. The world remained cruel. But under the umbrella, Dante Moretti lifted her hand and kissed the inside of her wrist with devastating restraint. No performance. No possession. "A vow. You can still run," he said. Ava looked at the most feared man in Boston. The man who had locked down a hospital, walked through gunfire, betrayed his own darkness, and learned to hold her without making her a prisoner. Then she took the umbrella from his hand. "And you can still follow." For the first time, Dante smiled. Not like a mafia boss, like a man who had been forgiven just enough to begin again. Behind them, the black SUVs waited in the rain. Ahead of them, the hospital doors glowed white against the night. Ava turned toward them first. Dante walked beside her. Not in front, not behind. Beside her. And somewhere in Boston, every enemy of the Moretti Empire learned the new rule before sunrise. Dante Moretti could be negotiated with, threatened, feared, even wounded. But the nurse who once saved his life? She was the one line no one crossed and lived to regret.